Song I did. Well, I guess it is that time, fellas.
It's always that time.
Right? Exactly. Whatever time it is, it's that time.
Wherever you are, that's where you're at.
There you go, man. Oh, so happy to be here. Friday morning, kind of afternoonish, early afternoonish, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
still morning, right?
yeah, it's morning.
Technically, until 11 o'clock, it's morning, correct?
Wait, no, and technically until noon, because it's not afternoon until afternoon.
That's true, but what is early afternoon?
Like 12:05?
No, that's just afternoon.
Well.
Anyway, well, we will carry on this debate. But welcome to This Pink Cloud, Season 2, Episode 42. We're a show about sobriety, recovery, all that lies within. Like to put spotlights on different resources and, maybe instill some folks, maybe inspire somebody to get help, all that fun stuff. I am DJ Kelly Reverb. As I like to say, I'm Kelly Reverb, and I identify as a DJ. And that is my good buddy, becoming one of my besties.
We're beefy land all the way.
But that is Dylan Kingston with Skate Straight. He is a smart recovery facilitator and a rad skateboarder. And by the way, E-Dub never sent me that video of you. I was going to play it today, of you getting rad, so people don't just think you're a poser.
I might be a poser, but no, I'm just kidding. I'll get a clip. I'll get some clips put together for next
No, but
week.
I just want to say that Eric Wilson did not send me the video.
Eyes on you, Eric.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, but sitting in with us today, I'm excited to have this guy in. I met him at the TAP meeting, which we'll get to what that stands for later. But this is Mr. Scott Wiesenbaker, or right? Wiesenbaker. I even messed it up, dude.
Yeah.
I even talked to him
We talked about it
before.
for like 5 minutes before the show, and then it's still.
Yeah, still sorry, man. I apologize. I'm making amends right now.
That's all right, DR River.
There you go, dude. He's got jokes. I like it. Hey, but he is with Solutions of North Texas, which is located in Denton, and we're going to talk all about that. Real quick, I want to hit our sponsors, which is summersky.us, and that is 888-857-8857. Once again, summersky.us, 888-857-8857. They're a lovely place in Stephenville, Texas, where I got clean and sober, and if I can do it, really, anybody can do it.
For real.
Also, if you're looking for a sober living, there is our friends at cardinalhouserecovery.com, and they've got about 3 spots, and that is Josh W. Jordan, and that is cardinalhouserecovery.com, and reach out 918-998-4223, 918-998-4223. It's a sober living spot where they run a good program, good accountability, and if you need that long-term care and somebody to look after you and tell you what to do.
Sober living was my saving grace for sure.
Right, dude? Well, you Oxford housed it.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's a different, but it's technically a sober living, you know what I'm saying? And so that was the key to my success, I believe. So
cool, dude. Well, I mean,
resource.
I think a lot of people, I mean, I got lucky so far.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, dude, I'm done, man. But yeah, I mean, if you had that where it's a lifestyle, I mean, it's tough to go back and stay back.
Well, yeah, I started so young. I didn't learn any of those I didn't learn to be an adult before I started getting, you know what I'm saying? I didn't grow through an adult. I was a child, started getting high, and remained a child.
Right. Yeah. Hey, well, there's that whole Arrested Development piece of the puzzle, which
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I'm about maybe 25 now, but in a 50-plus-year-old body. But by the way, nice shirt you have on, Dylan.
Thanks. Nice shirt you got on over there.
Oh, thank you. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're looking for these shirts, somebody actually sent a request in for a shirt from California.
Sick.
I'm like, hey, I guess people watch.
It's the reach is ever growing.
Exactly. But if you guys want shirts, you can just go to my website, which is djkellyreverb.com/shop. We've got the I went to rehab and all I got was my life back, and then the standard pink cloud, and then the there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many. The one with the fun rainbow on it.
Yeah. I got asked the other day, they obviously didn't read this shirt before asking this question, but they asked me if this was like a wrestling shirt, because, they beat each other with chairs like this. The guy was like, oh, my God, dude, where'd you get that wrestling shirt? And I was like, well, I'm wrestling, but not with other people.
I'm wrestling with Rick.
My demons.
Yeah, right. Right. Well, now that we've excluded Scott, no. Hey, man. So a little backstory between us. We met at TAAP, which stands for
Texas Association of Addiction Professionals.
Okay, so I'm in there trying to front, actually just promoting the show and looking for guests and all that good stuff, and looking to network and all that good stuff. And this guy is actually chairing, and I'm just like, I don't know, something about him. It's like that weird kismet, you're like, I like this guy.
Well, there's 80 people in one of these meetings.
Yeah.
And so then after the speaker is done, we have to go through and let 80 people stand up and introduce themselves. And if you let them, they'll talk for 10 minutes each, and we just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So my job is to yell at people and get them to get through quickly. And it's kind of cool. It's my only real responsibility, and I've been doing it for years. I just kind of sit up there and screw with everybody. And
right.
It keeps me in front of everybody. So.
Right. No, I love it. And because it gets to be like a CA meeting, dude, where you start having to do the timer, dude, the egg timer.
Hey, I've always been a fan of the timer, man.
If not, they'll go on for 10 minutes, and you're like, okay, well, we got 3 shares in today, and I appreciate you airing all your dirty laundry.
Myself, I identify as an addict who likes to hear myself talk. So, the timer is like a good thing for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
well, so anyway, Scott sends me this email, right, which I love, because I was like, oh yeah, I want you to do the show. So he sends me an email, and it is just titled "The Shit." And I'm like, well, I was already gonna have him on, but now it's a priority.
Sold.
Exactly. So I'm gonna just read down basically kind of your resume, if you will. So in the music industry, heavy metal for 15 years, which is great because I always promote fun and recovery. And
absolutely.
What's more fun than heavy metal?
Absolutely.
All right. And then, so out of control addiction to alcohol, cocaine, etc. And then this one piqued my interest. 42 arrests. That's good. That's good. That's pretty good, dude. I think that might be a show record.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it could be.
Yeah.
We'll have to have Brett check the tapes on that one, dude. Do some research, Brett, and
get back to us, please.
See if that is the official record. All right, so 2.5 years in Dallas County Jail, which would that be Lou Sterrett, or is that?
At the time, there was 8 different buildings that made up the Dallas County jail system. Lou Sterrett was one of them.
Okay.
That's where you process in and out of. We called it Uncle Lou's place.
Yeah, well, Lou's on the levee.
There is a place I spent the most time where I sat 9.5 months at one point, is an old hotel.
Okay.
It was called Decker. I don't think it's open anymore. It became a halfway house of sorts for a while, but it was an old hotel, and we called it the Cadillac Jail because the rooms didn't have bars on them. You were just in these old hotel rooms. And
oh,
across
wow.
The hallway was like a kind of like a group room or something.
Yeah.
And then, you know, there were several bunks in there, but you could sit there and watch I-35
Right.
because it's right up the street from the main jail, right across from the American Airlines Center.
Sure.
We would just sit there and watch the world happen while we were sitting in jail.
Right. But
in Lew Sterrett, you didn't have that.
right. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you had, it sounds like you had some nice accommodations.
So it's
kinda,
like more
except-
like a trustee camp.
Well, I was never considered a trustee, but it was a lot nicer. There was another one called New Holland, which used to be a Ford tractor plant where they built New Holland tractors.
Uh-huh.
And it was just a great big warehouse. And once you went inside, it was like they had monkey cages, like the indoor exhibit at the zoo.
Oh,
you
yeah.
walk in, there's 4 cages. Each cage had 18 men. You go through a door, there's 4 more cages. And it was just a very long, still had the rail in the ground from when they used to assemble these things.
Oh, wow.
And you didn't see outside. You didn't know if it was light or not.
That's always,
That's how,
I love a little sensory deprivation in incarceration.
Yeah, that's
always
how it is
good.
in like what is that jail that I think it's Arlington, something like that.
That's how it was in Vietnam.
They call them the bird cages because
Right.
that's what it is, and they just keep, and it's like a warehouse like that. I don't know if it's the same place, but it's a warehouse.
Did
like
they
that.
have lights that they would like at least daytime lights that they would turn on and
And
off?
about 4:45 in the morning, all the big fluorescent lights would kick on.
and you go, oh, it's morning. Yeah, right.
And it stayed on until about 11 o'clock at night.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And at that particular time, Martin used to be on TV about 4 to 5 times a day, every day, and that's what we watched.
We're going back there. He's talking to Martin Lawrence.
Well, they
show,
were-
just
Yeah, I
in
know.
case.
They
know
were
what Martin
reruns.
is.
They watched that, and they watched Cops. And oddly enough, everybody in there would cheer for the cops. They'd be
so
like, man,
funny.
he's in the back. He's in the back. Get him in the back.
That guy's a dumbass. Look at him, man. I wouldn't do that.
And they would sit there and go, that's going to be my celly as they were arresting him. And I'm like, that guy's in Cleveland, and this is 10 years old. He ain't going to be here.
Yeah.
Right.
He's already done his time.
That's funny. But then I love this, and you would be considered an old timer in the rooms, which you have been sober. Your sobriety date is 9/20/95.
No, March 20th. If that it says 9, that's a typo. 3/20/95.
Oh, okay. Well, then there we go, dude. I shorted you 6 months, man.
That's all right.
Yeah, but it is a typo.
320. I was 2 years old.
Okay, we get it, Dylan. You're not old, dude.
It's also the last time that I went to jail. So
Yeah.
Sweet.
So it was a little forced sobriety for you?
there's a man who I had this female judge, and she was nice to me. And so the first time I got in trouble, and they said, you have to go back and see the judge. I thought, I was young and arrogant, and I thought, judge likes me. This is going to be okay.
Sure.
And I walked in, and there was a man up there. And he took one look at me and said, take that man into custody. And I'm like, what just happened? Where's my judge? And they're
Yeah.
like, that is your judge. He's now the district attorney of Dallas, John Crusoe.
Okay.
And he had this theory that I could never meet the terms of my release while I was in my addiction, that he could almost at will put me in jail. And he could do it as many times as he needed to, over and over, until I finally realized that my way wasn't working.
Right.
And I will tell you, on the 42nd time that I was in there, and it's destroyed my music career, because
Sure.
you go to jail for months at a time, it's done.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that I'm never going to get where I need to be if I keep going to jail, and I'm going to have to stop getting high, because
Right.
every time I'd walk out, I'd be getting high within hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm alive today because of him. I didn't realize that I was the guinea pig for what would become the very first drug court in Texas, but that started in 97. I was in his courtroom last in 95.
Right.
And when I realized what he was doing, where I thought he hated me for years, and one day someone explained to me his theories after speaking to him, and I'm like, oh, he didn't hate me. He was trying to keep me alive. And
He was trying to actually help
it
me.
worked. So I went
Yeah.
down and got to talk to him 11 years later.
That's cool, man.
At some point, I don't know why, how, or when, I never asked him to, but he went in and removed my felony conviction.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't exist anymore.
Wow. Except
Dang.
in the ether now.
Because I was like,
Right.
not only have I been sober since the last time we talked,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, but guess what I'm doing now? And I had my place open for a handful of years, and
Right.
he was like, that's awesome. So
Well, and I was
That's
just
amazing.
that was the next bullet point. I was going to say you opened Solutions of North Texas in 2006, which is outpatient treatment and supportive transitional housing.
Sober living.
Accredited by the Joint Commission. I don't know who the Joint Commission
That's
is.
JACO. It's the hospital organizations.
Oh, okay.
The Joint Commission of Healthcare
Oh, okay.
Associations. So most treatment centers are either CARF or they are JACO accredited.
Oh, okay.
And we went the JACO route. And we were one of the, I believe we were the second facility in Texas that actually had our sober living that was accredited, because they said, hey, we don't accredit sober living.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, we understand that, but the application said, tell us everything you do, and you're going to see them. They're all right here. And so they started asking us questions about it, and the level of support and accountability and education that goes on within the homes. They said, well, that actually rises to the level of accreditation, and we call that supportive transitional housing.
I gotcha. Well, hey, I was going to ask you, actually, before we jump in and talk more about that, I mean, there had to be, I know it's all the incarceration, but I don't feel like I let you expound enough or tell your backstory of what it was like and how you became addicted and what you became addicted to.
Yeah.
Well, so I grew up in Collin County, right?
Okay.
And the first time I ever played in a bar, I was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And back then the drinking age was only 18. But as I was walking up to the door, the bouncer was like, hey, you got an ID? And I just lifted up my guitar case. I'm like, hey, man, I'm playing here tonight. He's like, my bad. You want a beer? And I'm like, yes, I do. And
here's my ID, dude.
Yeah, my guitar.
Right.
everything changed that night, because I thought, okay, so I'm going from punk kid, which I was still punk kid, but from playing at parties and, keg parties that the Plano police would shut down.
Right.
I was getting paid for playing in a club, and the rest of the guys in the band were older than me, which is how that all kind of happened. But I thought I just made the jump to professional musician.
Right.
And then I met a girl that night that was wiggling around. She was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Tacky hair, tacky clothes. And she just came up to me afterwards and it said, you understand you're coming with me tonight. And I just remember thinking, this is the greatest night of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
Why would I never not do this? And
Sure.
I spent the next 15 years running all over the country trying to get to where I thought I needed to be. The only problem was I kept getting arrested because, when that happened, I decided I wouldn't go to college because I was going to go to North Texas. There in Denton because they have the #1 music school.
Right.
I thought, I don't need to do that anymore. I would go to school to become a professional musician, and I'm already there, so why would I do that?
Exactly.
And it became a series of watching people that I know die. And going to jail. When I hurt, I get incredibly drunk and incredibly high, and then I go outside, which was always my downfall. You go outside, you get arrested.
You didn't just black out in your bed, dude. You had to
I gotta go
I'll
check
be
some
on
shit
Greenville
out.
Avenue, raising hell, and just trying to stir, because if I'm hurting, I want to go out and
I want to celebrate my hurt with everybody.
Well, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so,
That is true.
So that just it became more and more significant. And every time I got arrested, the police would be like, why don't you go get some help? Why don't you stop this nonsense? I'm like, why would I ever do that?
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm having a great time.
Right.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a good time.
You just kept saying, hey, man, if you can't do the time, don't do the crime. And, and just it became the jail was a way of life. And you can actually get to where you're comfortable in the jail.
Yeah,
which
like
is a
they
sad
call it
state.
institutionalized,
Right.
which I've seen that happen to people.
And, you have no concerns. You don't worry about where you're going to stay, who's going to pay the bill, where your food's coming from. You don't have to really worry about anything. And then the door opens one day and you go back out into the world and you desperately don't want to go back, but you have no skills, kind of like what you were saying. We never grew up. We We got thrown back out in the world, and that door swings open. It's really no different than the treatment door swinging open.
Mm-hmm.
You're in a safe environment, although treatment being much nicer and better food.
Sure.
But that door swings open. You go outside, and ready or not, here's the world. And what's across the street from the county jail? The liquor store.
Oh yeah,
Of
100%.
Was right down the street. Girls walking the corner slinging dope.
Right.
There's everything you need in the shadow of the jail. So
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. It is kind of funny because if you think about Lou's now, there's a bunch of shady stuff going on. It's all bail bonds.
Well, that's
shadiness.
Yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, and that's pretty much in any city wherever you go, right around the jail. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
almost like they like set that. I mean, it's just like when I was getting released from prison and getting taken to the halfway house. The halfway house is in the part of town where I jump off the bus and I can either go in and go into the halfway house, or on the other side of the street, dudes are like, "Hey, yo, I
the
got
dope
this."
house.
Yeah, it's like, so it's like,
crazy.
yeah.
Well, I remember my dad telling me one day, he goes, if you keep getting arrested, you're never going to get a good job. And I'm like, but Dad, me being arrested, that makes my resume.
Yeah,
He's like,
I'm a
explain
rock
that to me.
That
star.
gives
I'm
me
like,
street cred.
you know what
Dad?
they call a rock star who's never been arrested? They call him a poser. And I'm like, nobody can ever accuse me of being a poser. And
That's true.
he just thought, oh my God. But oddly enough, all of those arrests, everything I went through, all the people I buried, it perfectly got me prepared for what I do now. So,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, and that's kind of what I wanted to jump into. I'm glad we got that backstory. But, a lot of people that come out of recovery automatically say, oh, okay, well, typically it's like, oh, I'm going to be a, LCDC, and I'm going to be a drug counselor and help people because I've got my experience now. And then a lot of people say, oh, well, I'm going to start a sober living and blah, 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 and all this good stuff. Well, this guy actually did.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, I think it's great because, of your background. I think what actually inspired you to do it? I mean, like, what was the sequence of events that made you go, oh, I can do this?
So on the road, you're not a good boyfriend to anybody.
Right.
And you don't just go to Dallas County Jail. You get to visit the jails in various cities across the country.
Right. Well, by the way, I have to ask you. So, what was your favorite jail, or what was the most interesting or crazy jail story?
The jails all look the same.
Yeah.
I mean, the food is about the same.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time going into the Denton County Jail, and I will tell you that is the nicest jail I've ever been in.
Right.
Yeah, they have like for trustees and stuff. They have a like where you can have they have washer and dryers, and you can wash your own.
Oh, that's
clothes.
in all the pods.
Yeah,
there's an Xbox in there if you behave.
Oh,
you
wow.
can play that.
Wow. Okay.
And so it's nice, and there's an officer in there with you, so you're safe.
Wow. That's good. So you don't
it's-
have to worry about dropping the soap.
Yeah, I always heard. I've never been to Denton County, but like I did my jail travels, and people always talk about, oh, this jail's this, and they got this, and this is how this, and Denton County always.
I always wondered if somebody should do like a Yelp review for prisons or jails
Yeah.
and stuff. Like, you don't want to get arrested. Hunt County, that's off the table.
Yeah.
But Denton County, try there.
Well, and when they had 8 different buildings, it was a luck of the draw.
Right.
Are you going to go? You go through classification, you find out where you're headed.
Yeah.
And you wanted to go to Decker because you could watch the trucks drive by and count. Okay, there was 300 Budweiser trucks in the last 2 hours. I mean, you're just bored. You got nothing else to do.
Right.
You don't want to end up in a place without any windows. And in Dallas, I don't believe it's open anymore, but there used to be a place called the Government Center.
Mm-hmm.
If you fought, if you were angry, you got sent to the Government Center.
Okay.
Everybody there was angry, pissed off, and mean. And so it wasn't where you wanted to spend a lot of time.
Right. So do
Yeah.
you hear that, kids? If there's a lesson to be learned, go to Denton County and get arrested.
Yeah.
But, okay, so anyway, sorry for derailing.
So
you.
anyway, all those years I didn't have good relationships. I got
Sure.
married. I got divorced pretty quickly after because I was a bad husband. When I got sober, I got married 2 years afterwards. And then one day she was pregnant, and I thought, so this is like my heavenly reward for being a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't done anything. Well, the problem is that she still had a raging addiction, but this was now not through the dope house, but through the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a miscarriage and ended up committing suicide.
Oh, wow.
And at 4 years of sobriety is when that happened. Everything turned upside down. Everybody thought I was going to use. I ended up going to this little treatment center out in Greenville, Texas, out in Hunt County. That's not there anymore. It used to be called the Green Villa.
Okay.
And I would talk to guys once a week who were coming out of Safe P, which is jail treatment.
He's been there.
Yeah.
Right?
Terrible.
Substance abuse,
Yes.
felony punishment.
Right.
They teach you how to complete Safe P, not make it in the world.
Right.
Yes.
And so I would go and talk to these guys. We did not talk about what I was going through. My whole world had fallen apart. And I'll tell you, I was angry and pissed off for months. I would go to work. I would go to my one meeting a week. I would go to this place and talk to guys in treatment. And I would go home and basically cry.
Yeah. I can see it.
And
That's heavy.
that was, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little more than 20 years ago. That was a big, devastating deal. I mean, it doesn't get any closer than that, but I started paying attention to how many of us will commit suicide, and it's a bunch. I started looking at the guys walking out of treatment and watching them fall flat on their face, just like the guys coming out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started getting involved in trying to find places to put people so that they had a fighting chance.
Sure.
But what we had in Dallas was some crappy little sober houses down by the dump that were where all the dope was.
Mm-hmm.
There's Oxford houses, or has been for a long time, but it's kind of hit or miss. If you get into a good house,
It
can be a great experience.
Yeah, it is house by house
You get
basis.
into the
so-
wrong house, it may not.
Right.
So the only other option was to go to California and spend a whole lot of money to be at one with the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
and which isn't the real world for us anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, somebody needs to show them how to get back to work, how to stand on their own 2 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and not just go to meetings, but actually get through the work, start working with other people, and how to actually reclaim their life.
Yeah, like reacclimate
Right.
to life. And,
Yeah.
So
and that a lot of things that people don't realize is, at our arrested development, we don't really develop those life skills. A lot of us don't because, I mean, shoot, you were in and out of jail, and like you said, you had no responsibilities.
Right.
So, yeah.
and there just wasn't what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And reluctantly, because I didn't really like people. At this point, I kind of hated
Same.
everybody.
I like it.
And nobody was doing what I thought needed to be done, especially
They
at the
weren't
price
doing it the
point.
right way.
Right, and
Yeah.
there was very few places in Dallas, and the ones that were here were very expensive. So I decided to open up one. It would be a nonprofit. It would be affordable. If they were willing to go to work at minimum wage, that they would be able to pay to be in our facility.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was going to be much smaller. But, for a long time, I thought I needed $365,000 because that's I made a little budget and thought that's what I need. I didn't have that much money.
Sure.
So I started it with $4,500 and I just went for it. And I thought, if I go broke, I've been broke. I mean, I've lost everything I own 4 different times.
Right.
So I can come out and I can go back to work and I can figure out what went wrong and start it over. But that was a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've taken part in helping people, either directly helping them or supporting them in sharing information with a number of sober houses. You mentioned Josh. I know Josh well.
Yeah.
I know Scott out there at Summer Sky.
Yeah.
But I started
Scott
trying
Kelly,
to get to
love
know
the
everybody
guy.
I could, and I tried to be as helpful as I could with as many people to get more places open.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need more, not less.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got started and why I got started. We let a family member pay their first month, but everybody goes to work, and I've put over 14,000 people to work.
Wow.
And they pay their own way from that point forward because we have to learn how to stand on our own 2 feet
Sure.
or we're not going to make it.
Right.
I mean, that's not everything, obviously, but that is a significant
Oh,
piece.
I think that's a huge piece is having a responsibility and a job to show up to, and then to you actually have like a little sense of pride, having that job, I mean, if it's something you remotely like, I mean, I suggest you actually like it.
Do you the fulfillment I got from when I moved into Oxford, right? Like my family paid my first month. They were like, "This is the last money we're ever going to give you. It's sink or swim." I called my grandmother, my mom, my aunt, everybody. The first time I did my own laundry and I didn't like fuck up all of the clothes that I owned, like I was so stoked, dude. Like those type of things, like you said, like getting back to work and like learning to like take care of yourself I was babied my whole life, like I never paid bill, whatever, right? And so when I did that, like that's like the like those little things. They're what kept me pushing to be like,
Right.
I can do this. I can do this. You know, as of where before I was living on grandma's couch, everything was there. I needed food. My clothes got washed. All that.
Prescription pills.
Yeah, I didn't need. There was no reason for me to try and push myself to.
Sure. Yeah. I
know?
mean, we are all like at some point kind of enabled, I mean, and I guess that's kind of what it is. But, you can't really fault your family for loving you and wanting to take care of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's a whole other episode right there.
Yeah.
Is, the setting boundaries and stuff like that, because, I mean, without those boundaries, you'll just be surfing grandma's couch forever.
Yeah.
So,
And
So what's your next little point there? Your next little bullet
oh,
point?
well, the next point was going to be, I saw, like, okay, we were talking about, how many people do you employ now?
20.
20, okay. And it's all, what is it? You have counselors and, like, what would the job description be there?
I have a number of counselors. I also have my support staff, which is mostly made up of people who at one point or another I either did an intervention on or they came through my program or both.
Okay.
And we have very little turnover. So I've got a girl who came to me. She just celebrated 10 years as staff.
Oh, wow.
So she came to us about 11 years ago. I've got another guy with 9 years, and we just have very little turnover because I've got a little hive of badasses over there.
Yeah.
And they've all got the experience. So it's really kind of cool. And because I've got such a great staff, I'm remarried. My wife works with me. She's our admissions director. It's wonderful, but I get to do stuff like this because I have a hive of badasses doing their job.
Oh, yeah.
So it allows me a lot of free time to be involved with different things, to get out and get the word out, because I've never had a marketer. I'm our whole marketing department. I'm our executive director. I'm also the one that does all this stuff with court. Well, that I serve on 3 different drug courts. And so there's just a lot.
Well, I was going to say there's something to be said for basically a place that the majority of your employees are alumni. So an alumni run place. I love that. So,
and how big is y'all's facility?
I house 52 men and women. I also have a small. We're trying to enlarge. I bought 5 acres in Denton, so I've got room for a whole campus. We were going to start building some more stuff. We ran into a little snag, and then the COVID came and shut everything down, and we're getting everything back together. My board is very helpful with that in helping me get this back on track, because we need to build more. But I also have a small duplex where we call it our return to monitor house. One of the courts I serve on is a family drug court, and we have 2 families that we can work with at a time. There's more housing that's needed, but I have a little duplex. Frankly, I was going to tear it down because there was a bunch of people in there doing dope when we bought it.
Right.
And once we got them out and we walked the property, it was nasty, but it just really needed to be fixed up.
A little TLC.
Yeah. It was in good shape. It was just ugly and had a lot of, we tear stuff up.
Right.
Yeah.
So a good remodel to it, and I get to do 2 families now, 2 single moms with their kids that have had their kids taken away from them and then given back to them. And they call that phase when CPS gives you back your child, they call it return to monitor, because for the next 6 months, it's almost like CPS probation. They can show up at any time and check the status of anything in the house. So you need a safe place that they'll approve that's yours, where you're not just somebody's roommate. And so it's great. We wish we had more of it, but we provide 2 homes.
Is that where you're going to expand, or which
I need to expand my women's program.
Okay.
And we just need to expand everything. So, and when we're done with this campus, we want it to be, the women down on one side, the men on the other. We want to have like a park in between. And
So kind of like
cool.
like how Nexus has they're like a campus, and they have all that stuff in the buildings in between and stuff like that.
Somewhat like
essentially.
Somewhat like that, but for women and men.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying the layout. That's really cool, though. I think that's
yeah,
sick.
for
we
sure.
used to be concerned about having them all on the same campus, but we've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
And we've got very little trouble with our men trying to hook up with our women.
Sure.
I mean, typically when that's happening, it started in treatment. And then, we get 2 or 3 people at the same time from the same treatment center. We got to take a good look at, okay, what's going on here? Especially like we're going to go and be in love.
Little recovery romance, dude.
Next thing you know, you got sober house babies.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. Hey, real quick, I want to go ahead and give out your website address, which is sontx.org, right?
Yep.
sontx.org, and that'll take you to the website. I wish we would have pulled it up in Google Maps, and we could have done
the street view,
the flyover, and go, and this is where we want to do that, and this is where we want to do that.
Well, and it's, anybody's welcome to come up and see our place. It's pretty cool, and anybody who has a facility or wants to open a facility, man, I'd love to talk to them about it.
Right.
I don't want to overstep and tell them what to do, but if they want to ask, there's a lot of pitfalls that I've come through over the years that I can help them.
What would you, so then that leads to my next question. What would be your biggest advice to give somebody who wants to start like a sober living or, a facility?
Well, first of all, if you want to do it, you can do it. It's a lot of work.
Sure.
But there's a lot of people that will try to talk you out of it. If you open up and you think you're going to get rich, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
If you think that the treatment industry is just going to keep you full all the time, you're also wrong. You got to get out there and start hustling stuff up. I called the police department the day after we opened to let them know, hey, look, I'm still afraid of you guys, but the guys I'm going to be working with are terrified of you.
Right.
I did not realize that those people that I talked to would become my friends.
Sure.
And that the police become our biggest advocates. I also called the defense attorneys, and I went and speak in front of the defense bar saying, hey, look, you get me involved with your guys, you got a better product for court. And then over the next decade, a bunch of them became judges. And because we were already friends and already working together, then they started saying things like, hey, we want to do a drug court. I'm like, man, I want in. And like, that's why I'm telling you, I need you because you're the drug guy.
Sure.
Yeah, so
absolutely.
I'm on our first vendor court, our felony drug court, and then our newest one, which is now 4 years old, is our family drug court. And I absolutely love working in the legal
and just for the people out there that don't know, what when you say drug court, what does that mean?
So in felony drug court, if you're looking at going to the penitentiary, but you're asking for help, then we will try this. We will put you into a 18-month to 24-month program where you're going to come to court twice a month. And we're going to get all, the good news is you're inviting 20 people into your life. The bad news is you're inviting 20 people into your life.
Right.
And so my role is to make sure that they get connected to a sponsor, that they start taking people through the work. If they need, if they start going sideways, we always see the relapse before it happens because of their actions. So sometimes yesterday in felony drug court, I put my foot in the ass of about 3 people, and they're mad at me, and I don't care.
Right.
And I told them I don't care if you're mad at me because it's like what you're doing right now is stupid, and it's going to bite you in the ass, and you are going to get high. And if you're lucky, you will go back to jail, but you could be like one of the other participants who didn't want to listen, who we had to put in the ground.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's not, if you don't want to be here, get up and get out and let somebody else be here.
Sure.
Now, family drug court, CPS is taking their children. They're trying to get their kids back. My role is the same. And I meet with them every week.
Yeah.
Every Thursday we get together and we talk, and
yeah,
sometimes
it's got to be
really good, and sometimes
I was going to say that can get hardcore when you involve kids and stuff like that, and go, hey, man, you're not working, your program or what you should be doing, and I'm
whatever leverage gets them through the door that gives us the opportunity to work with them.
Sure.
And at least give them a fighting chance, because people who came to me a decade ago who didn't stay may go back out there. In fact, one of the guys that works for me left, he's like, screw you guys, and he left, and he had to go to prison twice.
Yeah.
And then he got out, and he just said, I don't want this anymore. So he came looking for me, and he found me, and I started working with him, and then a spot opened up about a year later, and he ended up working for me. And just this last week, him and his wife who both work for me, they bought their first house.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, that's the good stuff.
Yeah, sure.
You know, he was thinking this should be like my third or fourth house, but it's my first house. But the cool thing is he's not dead. He's not in prison. He bought a house.
Yeah.
He's married. He's having a great life, and he's working with people.
Right, right. And I mean, honestly, at some point, probably even yourself, people would have gone, "Oh, dude, just lock this guy up and throw away the key." And I'm just like, but people deserve the chance to recover, and I love that you're affording that opportunity.
Well, I'm alive because of the Dallas Police Department and Judge John Crusoe.
Right.
That's why I'm alive, because it was not in my interest to stop using, or I didn't think it was.
Yeah.
I just needed everybody to leave me alone so I could go ahead and sign that big deal and buy a mansion with a big gate, keep everybody the hell away from me. And then you start understanding why people have become a recluse. When you're deep in your addiction, you're like, I just want everybody to leave me alone.
Right.
I just want to be, the only person that's important is whoever's sitting next to you on a couch that you're doing dope with. Mm-hmm. That is like your whole world at that moment. And that moment may last 3 or 4 days or
3 or 4 years.
Right. It just depends.
Right. Yeah. Oh man. So we had met at TAP. So what? So it's the Texas. Go ahead, give it to me.
Texas Association of Addiction Professionals.
Okay, and you have been a board member for 10 years. How long has that been? How long has that been around? Actually.
Oh, it's been around for a long time.
Okay.
The first few times I went, there was like 3 people there.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know about this, and I didn't go for a little while, and then I started going back. And over the years, it's grown. There's some significant reasons over the last several years why it has grown to be so big. But there's a Fort Worth chapter. There's an Austin chapter. There's a Houston chapter. I think there might even be an El Paso chapter.
Okay.
But it's a marketing lunch. There's always the CEU, but it's a great way to, because it's all about relationships, making connections. Just like I did in the legal community, I make connections in the treatment industry.
Right.
Because when I look at where my people come from, and before COVID, we were on a wait for 3 years straight. And a lot of them are coming to me. Police are bringing me people. The courts are referring people. The treatment centers are referring people.
Right.
And you can't make your round one time and say, hey, this is who I am. Here's my card. Look at how badass we are. And then never go back. You got to get out there and you got to.
And it's forge relationships.
It's just relationships. Yeah. So when I get to go to TAP and stand on the stage and yell at everybody, nobody goes to TAP and doesn't know who I am.
Yeah.
They may not like me, but they know who I am.
Well, I automatically
know what you do.
I automatically liked you. I did.
I mean, I just have fun.
He's a likable guy, man. No, he's just real. He's real, and he's been there, and he's done that.
Well, and the cool thing about recovery is you're supposed to reclaim your life and have a good life and be happy.
I love it.
I don't need to tell you that I'm happy. It comes across in who I am, whereas I used to be miserable.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I mean, life is cool. So why not come to Frisco in the morning and talk in a microphone for an hour?
Right. That's what I'm saying, man.
It's funny. I was talking to somebody about that, how you said it, like, I don't have to tell you that I'm happy. It shows, right? Like, and it's the same thing with, like, I remember, like, trying to get clean so many times and whatever, and I would always tell people, oh, I'm doing so good. I'm doing so good. You know, you see people and you're like, yeah, I'm doing good. And, like, now I don't have to tell people that. Like, they're like, they can see it. You, like, radiate that when you're doing well and, like, you're not getting high and doing dumb shit. Like, people can just see it. Like, and I think that's one of the coolest things about recovery.
Right. Yeah. You don't have to tell everybody. They say that, don't they say that in the big book somewhere? You know, people just, notice, they'll notice a change because I've had people, come to me and just go, there's something about you is different. I was like, I'm not hungover.
I'm not shit-faced right now.
And I don't have diabetes anymore.
Isn't it crazy that when somebody's using, everybody knows they're using, but then once they get clean, they're like, hey, don't tell nobody.
Yeah.
It's like, they know.
Yeah.
You were high. And now you're not.
Yeah, man. That's why, I'm okay with the fact that I was addicted to alcohol and drugs. I mean, that's okay. I mean, I like to put it out there because if there could be somebody out there watching this that it inspires and goes, oh yeah, dude, he was a tremendous slouch.
Yeah.
And now look what he's doing. So
well, and when I was in my addiction, right, like I thought everybody got high, like, you know what I'm saying? And now that I'm out, like, I realize, like, fuck. Not everybody does this. And like in recovery, like we meet people in like we find each other. Like I went to the new chiropractor for the first time last week. The dude that's like adjusting my back, he's got 17 years clean. You know what I'm saying? We like find each other.
It is weird because once you get sober, you just get that vibe, dude. It's like like a sober Spidey sense, dude. And you get like, that guy used to shoot heroin.
Yeah.
Man. He's in recovery, man. Hey, but okay, and then also on here, I noticed you, and I love the title of this, but you published a book, and it's called "How to Get Your Kids Off Drugs."
Yep.
I love that.
Cool.
So that's
about the families and all the mistakes that they make, and it walks through the whole process, whether they go to treatment or they go to jail, the different things to look out for. It's really just informational. And I think it's good because I wrote it.
hey, let's be honest.
But it's
is it still available?
Yeah, it's on Amazon.
Okay.
I'm an Amazon search result.
There you go.
Sick.
I like it. Now, is it an audiobook as well?
No.
You need to have the audiobook.
I was going to record it,
yeah.
but I get so busy and I just never did it. I may still do it. And I've had people go, I can do this for you for just X amount of money.
Oh, like, for a nominal fee.
And I just, do you ever, like you listen to a book or something and you hear the voice and you get this picture in your head as to who they are. And so you're listening to the voice, guy sounds like James Earl Jones. It's like, and then we moved on to the next phase.
Sure.
And then you hear, hey, this guy's speaking somewhere. You want to go see him. And he comes out and he's like, hey, everybody, how you doing? And you're like, oh, that just ruins it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the only for the audiobook, I love to listen to books when I'm driving.
Right.
So, but that's really the only plus. But I can see how you're kind of like.
Well, it's like when you watch movies that are dubbed over and the voices don't match.
Right.
And you're like, that guy does not sound like that in real life.
Right. No. You need to find the person that sounds like your book.
Well,
it's him. He wrote it.
It's and I do a lot of recording. I just don't do a lot of voice recording.
Right. I gotcha. Okay, so before we get to the fun part of recovery, because he has a heavy metal band, and it's called Punch Monkey.
And I don't know really if it would be what I would consider heavy metal, but more of a heavy groove.
Okay. Well, whatever it is, it's music and it's fun, right?
So one of the guys I'm playing with, we got together right after high school. Not my first band, but one of our friends was killed in this horrific alcohol-fueled accident leaving the lake, and so we got together to write a song about him. And I wish I could say it was my first friend, but we were already stacking bodies at this point. And so we got together to write this song, and it went real well. So we played together for a while, did some festivals, and then we kind of went in our separate ways. I think I got arrested. He broke up with his girlfriend. We just kind of drifted apart. And about 6 or 7 months ago, we kind of ran back across each other and reconnected and thought, hey, let's get together and see if we still know that old song. And we just started recording. I had been recording a bunch of recovery music, but I got together with him, and so we put this band together. The drummer's one of the guys that works for me. He's a phenomenal drummer.
Now, are you you strike me as a lead guitarist /
No, actually, I'm the bass player.
Bass player, okay.
Now, the music that I recorded, my own stuff, I play everything that you hear.
Okay.
But in this, I'm playing. Peter is the guitar player and I'm the bass player, and then the guy who works for me, my operations director, a guy's been with me for 9 years. He's a drummer, and he did go to UNT, and he played with people like Nora Jones and Edie Brickell, and so he's got some skills that are mad.
He's got a skill set.
And so we were making some changes, and I'm like, hey, why don't I bring Jason in? And it just worked. And so our first time that we're really playing out is this new unit, which is fun because one thing we missed, you missed being on a big stage in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people. There's nothing like that. And so sadly enough, the Rail Club is about to close down, but we're doing a benefit concert at the Rail Club on the 13th. It's called Sweats for Vets. And so it's really cool. And we're going to try to just get out and play once a month. Our plan is to work with the contacts that still remain in the industry. Is, when you've got a big national band coming through, they always tap a local band to be the opening act. We're all married. We all have careers. Nobody wants to go back on the road.
Right.
But being able to open for a national act on a big stage, that's cool. And
Oh, yeah.
especially when it's done, you hang out with them, and it's like, okay, we'll see you guys later.
All
They
right.
get on the bus, and it's like, I'm going to go home and sleep in my bed.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And it's just it's a fun part of the life that we already have. I'm
Sure.
not going to give up what I do during the day
Right.
to go around and play different little places.
No, I get it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, and this is something I always stress on the show, like is just having fun in recovery and being happy in recovery and doing, what makes you happy, which is like for you, it's music, right? I mean,
And there is nothing like thousands of people watching you. Even though you get to the point where you hate people, you
yeah,
don't want to be around. You have this separation. You're up
Sure.
here, they're out there.
Right.
But how many people make a big enough crowd? There's no such thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
The more
No,
the
I hear
better.
you. Hey, Brett, do you want to? Can you pull up that link for us, and we will check out some of the heavy groove, not heavy metal.
Well, it's a matter of taste, I guess.
Yeah. But Punch Monkey, I like it, and with the cigar.
You got to have, and I brought you something. We'll get to that in just a
All
second.
right.
We build an empire of trust, yet fear no future. Imprison yourself with the greed from the hands of false prophets. You claim you won your freedom by the sound of a trumpet. Thinking we won the war, but it hasn't begun yet. Where is your victory?
Well, cool, man. I'm not gonna play the entire song. I don't want to, have to pay you royalties and all that stuff. But no,
here's
but
the
I
great
mean,
thing.
yeah.
All the music is available for free downloads, because
Okay.
we want to play and we want people to hear the music.
Sure, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I think that's kick-ass that you own this company, you start this company, former, addict and all that stuff, and you start this company, and then, you still make fun. Oh, nice.
I brought you a monkey smoke.
Sweet. Let's see.
And there's a little QR code on the back that takes you to where you can download all the music for free.
I like it. I
And
like
so
it. I
as
will.
we finish stuff, we're going to have more and more available for download, all for free, because we just want to have fun.
Right.
And we like it. We're good. We enjoy it. And
Sure.
why not?
There you go. That's
It's
what
like
I'm.
having a double neck guitar.
That's
Does anybody need one? No.
right.
Why do you have one? Why
Because
not?
you can.
Yeah.
Right. And so one of my hobbies is also building instruments. So I built a double neck with a bass and a guitar.
Oh, nice.
that's
and
cool.
It's.
I wish I
why
would have
not?
known. I would have gotten a picture.
I need to build a second one so I can win to Peter, because he also plays guitar and bass. And our idea was we just switch back and forth multiple times in the song, just so people are like, what are they doing? Why do they keep doing that?
Is he playing guitar?
Yeah.
It's
Playing a
just
bass?
that is
Guitar.
an instrument of excess. There is no reason for it's in the same line of thought.
Yeah,
of
there is
my
a
amp goes up to 11.
there is a reason, because it's rad.
Right. And so they're heavy, they're bulky, they're awkward, but you know what? Why not?
Yeah.
All right, so
That's cool.
I also want to just get that the address where people can contact you, and that is sontx.org, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then is there a number you want to give out?
Sure.
As far as people reaching out to you,
940,
Mhm.
because we're in Denton,
Gotcha.
898 6202.
Okay.
And, there's, I say I have, I house 52 men and women. I also have right now about 95 people in treatment services. So some of the folks that are doing treatment with us are actually in our facility residentially, but a lot of them, they just need the IOP or whatever, and they have somewhere to live. So it's a mix.
Right.
You do not have to do both. You can do one or the other. I think they work together great. But the fact is, and the whole reason we started is, there are some people who are never going to be able to afford treatment. And
I
so if
understand
they
that,
come
yeah.
into the sober living facility with the program we have in there and everything that we're doing, they can get well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So,
We actually added the IOP because I had 2 different district judges in the same week corner me at the courthouse and go, I need you to do this.
I need you to add an IOP
it's
as well,
like,
by the way.
Okay. And now that seems to be the thing to do. I mean, we did it years ago. Now you have a lot of sober houses adding the IOP, which I think is a great deal. And if I can help somebody get that stuff done, I'll share information with them.
Yeah, I have a experience with IOP. Like I did it. I was forced to do it a lot when I was arrested and things like that. But here recently, I made the decision. I had like a little slip, and I made the decision to go through an IOP, and it like got me right back on track. It got me attached with some like counseling and things like that I needed to further like push my recovery. And I loved IOP.
So let me tell you something real cool.
Mm-hmm.
There is one of my board members, and he's become a really good friend of mine. Years ago, they did a news story when 8 kids in the wealthy part of town died from a heroin overdose.
Sure.
They did a news story. They spoke to me. Then they cut over to, at the time, he was a sergeant over narcotics in the sheriff's department. And the way they cut it up, it looked like we knew each other, but we didn't. And we found each other, the next day, and we've been friends ever since. He actually got his start in treatment and then moved to law enforcement. He was working with the Texas Youth Commission and decided, I need to solve the problem. But we have been able to tap into using drug seizure funds to pay for treatment for people who are in the specialty courts.
I think that's kick-ass.
I think
what a great idea.
I think we're the first county in the country that did that, which we thought surely we can't be, but he does his trainings, and everybody was like, how did you guys come up with that?
Right.
We're also trying to turn 2 of the pods inside our jail into treatment centers. We have to wait for COVID to stop.
I would love, that's a great idea.
There's just cool stuff, and it would basically be everything we do in a to-go format, so that when these guys and girls are walking out of the county,
right,
they've been through the work. They've been through the job search program. They're ready to go out and put their life back together. Not, here's outdoors. Try to make it this time.
Yeah, take the stairs up to that door and you're out.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, and you were talking about law enforcement. I love this, what you do as well. Current president of the 100 Club of Denton, which you raise money for fallen and injured police officers.
Right. Pretty funny for a guy who couldn't stand cops.
Yeah, right.
And now some of my very best friends are, and they do a banquet once a year to raise money, and I got involved, and it's the coolest, man.
Yeah.
Just having all those relationships allows me to go places and do things that other people haven't been allowed to do. And me and my friend, the captain from the sheriff's department, his name's Captain Davis, we want to go to other communities and show them how to put together these collaborations, because the treatment industry and the sober houses and law enforcement, they've always been on opposite sides.
Yeah.
They don't talk to each other. I mean, treatment and sober house do, but there's a division between them and law enforcement when there shouldn't be.
I agree.
But
they should be
they can
working
work together.
Yeah.
But you have cops who feel like, well, it's a slow burn making a change like that.
Yeah. It's a paradigm shift.
Every community has somebody that's willing to open a sober house. If you've got somebody willing to open a sober house, and you've got a judge or a sheriff who's willing to try a program to help people, then you can fill up as many sober houses that are out there if you just collaborate with them. And they don't have to understand what we do. They just have to know, it's like, look, I don't get it, but you seem to be able to work stuff out with these people. We've arrested them a dozen times.
You speak their language.
Right.
You're
It's
right.
like we thought by arresting them 2 or 3 times they would stop, but they don't. They just keep doing it. And eventually they find them dead. And the cops, contrary to popular belief, they want to see us get well.
Right.
Yeah.
And it bothers them when we
We're
die.
we're a lot more paperwork for them.
But I just think, and I was always so rude.
Yeah.
It's like, screw you guys.
Yeah, well, they were
Yeah.
telling you to go to your room, dude, and you didn't want to hear it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I can't thank you enough for coming out. Is there anybody, I always like to give you an opportunity to shout out, or, I mean, if you want to plug your facility, please go ahead.
Well, I love our facility, Solutions of North Texas, but Judge Tiffany Hertling, Judge Steve Burgess, and Judge Brody Shanklin are the judges that run the specialty courts that I serve with, and I know all of our judges, and I appreciate all of them.
Right.
Those three run those programs. I love those programs. Our sheriff has been very helpful in helping us get this all started. His Sheriff Tracy Murphy. And then, of course, Jeff Davis, one of the captains, has made this all possible. Without those people who were never in the drug land,
Oh, yeah.
without them, half of what I do doesn't happen.
Right.
And, of course, they feel the same way about me. Without me, half of what they're trying to do doesn't happen. So we all have that ability to work with other people. We just have to be nice. And what does the program teach us to do? Be tolerant, be nice, get along with people. It's our job, because even if you can't stomach getting to know people in the legal community, you get over yourself. You do it because they are the key to all those men and women that are incarcerated that desperately need our help. That if we're not there to help them, they're going to end up dead. And what, we're going to sit at home going,
Yeah, and I love it
Yeah.
because I'm all about, I always say, uniting the tribes, or basically putting resources together and having them work in a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. And also, I always like to thank people that are in the recovery industry, because sometimes it's a thankless job, and sometimes it's not the greatest, but I want to thank you for what you do.
It's leaky and smelly and indescribably wonderful.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, Dylan, thank you for coming on. I know
Always a
you will be
pleasure.
off next week. Next week, we actually have Stephen Vega from the Phoenix. Of course, you're aware of the
Steven.
Phoenix.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm actually having him. He always likes to be behind like the Wizard of Oz style. He doesn't like to talk. I'm going to make him talk in public about himself.
Sick.
So I'm excited for that. But I'm excited, and I know I'll see you around at some of the TAP meetings. But I'm glad, I got to meet you, and I'm proud of what you do.
Yeah.
Thanks. And
Yeah.
if somebody else wants a monkey smoke, they need to come to the show on the 13th, and come find me. I'll have a bunch of them.
Okay, and where's the show going to be?
It's at the Rail Club in Fort Worth.
Okay.
And it's the Sweats for Vets benefit concert.
Okay.
So it's a great deal. We're raising money for the vets. We're not really making any money.
Okay.
And it's the coolest. So
Okay, well, cool.
Yeah,
Hey,
and
go ahead.
Sorry,
Yeah.
You're in Denton County, right? And
Yep.
so Skate Straight, the group that I'm with, I do a lot of stuff with. We just opened a Denton County meeting, so they're right out there by Roanoke Skate Park. That's where they have the meeting at the skate shop. So this is a great thing to tell Josh and them, so that maybe if there's some people looking for some help, we can shoot them your way.
we got a little skate shop up in Denton, open up in an old little gas station.
Yeah,
Denton Skate
Denton
Supply.
Skate Supply. Yeah, those dudes are cool out there. They got
We got the coolest stuff in Denton.
yeah. I like going downtown,
Right?
like the square and
Well,
stuff
okay,
like that. It's cool.
so I guess from this entire conversation I've gathered, if I ever get in trouble in Denton, Texas, I'm going to call you.
Yeah.
Because
He knows everybody.
He knows everybody. He's the unofficial mayor of Denton.
Yeah.
I like it. But thanks again for coming on. Hey, guys, don't forget our sponsor, summersky.us. That is 888-857-8857. Summersky.us, 888-857-8857. They're a lovely spot out in Stephenville, Texas, and they sponsor the show. So, and they got me sober. So love them. Shout out to them. Be sure and join us next week. We also have coming up, we were touching on suicide. The 19th, we have Miss Texas, the current Miss Texas, coming on to talk about suicide awareness and prevention. So I think that's an important part of recovery and being aware of it.
Sweet.
But thanks again for coming out. Brett, if you would, Maestro, please play us out. Be sure and join us next week. And remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.